Hello. Well, today I'm talking with Bob Morgan again. Welcome, Bob.
Welcome again. Yes, yeah, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. And that depth of knowledge that you possess has really astounded our viewers. So today we'll be talking about St. Kenneth Common, I believe.
Yes, this is an update on the proposed wind turbine development up there. The last programs that Ross did, I think there was a layout that we had showing where the turbine locations were going to go. But back at the end of last year, the developer has actually now revised the scheme. And instead of being there 20 wind turbines being put up on top of the common, the good news is there's now only going to be 14. But the good news isn't that good when you actually start getting into the layout and see what's going to happen. So what I want to do now is we just go quickly through the new proposals. And the reason for doing this is so that anyone out there who has an interest in the common, who's got an interest in the zodiac, the potential zodiacs or the cut marks or the rock art on the rocks or any other aspect of the common, so that they know now where the new turbine locations are going to go, and more importantly, where the access tracks, the cable routes, and all the ancillary bits and pieces are going to happen. And the reason for that now is with this information, what they should be doing is now going out onto the common, checking against the new plan and seeing whether the new layout is going to impact on any of the features on the common which are of interest to them. The planning application, as I understand it, hasn't been submitted yet, but it's going to be submitted shortly, I would think, having now issued this revised plan. And then at that point, everyone will have the opportunity to put in their objections to the local authority. But we can't afford to wait for the planning application to be submitted before people start looking at this. People should start looking now and looking at the proposed layout, see what its impacts are, and if they think anything is going to be adversely impacted, they need to start getting their objections in order and start drafting up some objections ready to put them in as soon as the wind turbine application goes in. Because as soon as the application goes in, you have a very short window of time in order to submit your objections. And if you haven't got them prepared in advance, by the time you've actually put them together, you might have missed that deadline for the objections to be lodged.
That's a great news item, Bob. Thanks for bringing this to our attention.
Okay, well, let's go and look at the new layout and see what the developer is now proposing. So if I go into site share, and it's that one there, and you're now site sharing, and from the beginning. There we go. Okay. So the proposed wind farm is called Twin Howell, which is you can see my cursor, which is the Twin up on top of this section of the common. Why they've chosen it to name that when most of the turbines are now on the eastern side of the common, I don't know, but that's the name they've chosen for the development. And this plan on the right shows you the latest proposals. So you can got 3 turbines on the western side of the common, and the remain, and then you've got 12 turbines on the how many is it? 11. No, there's 14 turbines in total. So there's 11 turbines then on this side of the common, and we're gonna have got someone at the door.
Never mind. I'll be editing this bit so I can just talk rubbish, which I usually do anyway.
Right, I'm back. Another Amazon delivery for Lynn.
I just edited that bit out. Don't worry.
Yeah. So if we then look at the detail of this and look at it on ordnance, look at it in a bit more detail. You can see what what they're proposing. The orangey, or the orangey colour here are all the new access tracks they're going to have to make across the common to get to access to the turbines. So you can see that at this point here, for example, that they're going to have to cross the Stenhennig Dyke to get into these three turbines here. Similarly, on this one here, they're going to have to cross the dike again to get to the turbines all along this side of the dike. So they're going to have to cross the dike, and what they've done is they've mitigated that by minimizing the number of times they have to cross the dike, because you can imagine a situation where they would be crossing the dike for every single turbine, which wouldn't be good news. In order to get the turbines to site, they're going to make this new road here, this purple line here.
Yep.
That's a new access track which links up to the roundabout here, up the other side. I forget what the actual place up there now is, but it's to hit the main road up there. There's a roundabout, and this new access track will provide the linking with that. And this is a brand new track coming up through virgin green fields. The access tracks, all of them, in order to deliver the turbine components, the turbine manufacturers insist on at least a 5-meter width of track. That's due to the size of vehicles needed to transport the turbine components, the blades and the tower sections. On corners, it will need to be wider than 5 meters to allow for the vehicles to swing around the corners. Wow. And then some parts, the tracks could be up to 8 meters wide. What they've shown as doing is this section, as you follow my cursor down here, past 7, 8, coming down here 9, down to 12 and 11, they're going to use the existing byway that goes across the common. This is an existing stone track. Now, this stone track is touted by the mainstream archaeologists and historians as being a Roman road. So they're actually having to upgrade, effectively, a Roman road. Now, that doesn't sound good to me, especially as the surface of that track at the moment is probably only around about 3.5 meters. So they need to make it wider. And also, in order to get the large vehicles up there, they're going to have to regrade it and restone it. So there's going to be a lot of work on that. Now, when that work is in progress, the public will not be able to use that byway, by any means, by walking, by vehicle, or by bicycle or horse, because if they're actually regrading and restoning that thing, you're not just physically not going to be able to be capable of using it. Yeah. Interestingly, this line here, which looks like a railway line, is a byway, and that's another stone track that goes across the common. Interestingly, on the western side, they're using the existing byway and the stone track, albeit even though it's a Roman road. Yeah. On this, going this way, going towards the west, they're building a new parallel track. Now, I don't understand why they're doing that, because you're actually building a whole brand new parallel, probably 5 to 8 meter wide stone track across the virgin common. They're going to have to dig it, they have to excavate it out, level it, and then stone it all. But why they don't just do what they did on the other side and just refurbish and extend the existing stone track, I don't know. And there must be a reason for that, and that's one of the questions I've got for them is why are you doing that?
A valid question, yeah.
Because you're actually creating you're creating more damage to the common. Instead of keeping the damage to the corridor that's already damaged, in fact, by the already existing stone track, you're creating a parallel one. And as I said, to each of the turbine locations, 4 or 5, you can see that they're providing new tracks as well to those. And again, all of these will have to be at least 5 meters wide and stoned. The other thing that's interesting is these little blue things, which look like little lakes.
Yeah.
They're going to be quarries.
Quarries. Wow.
In order to get stone for the road.
So what they call in a borrow pit.
Yeah, that's the technical name that you use for these things. They're borrow pits are essentially stone quarries used for making roads. If you look at any Roman road or any ancient road, normally down the side of it, you will spot at intervals these borrow pits where they've actually dug out the stone in order to form the road.
Right.
So that's interesting, because that's going to, you look at the size of them, that's going to leave huge permanent scars on the common.
Yeah.
They're going to be there for all time. They're never going to be filled in again.
Yeah.
So again, if anyone's got interested in the common, these areas here particularly, someone needs to go out and have a look at them and see if these quarries are going to impact anything which they think is of interest or shouldn't be impacted. And the other thing that's going to happen again is this dotted line down here. This is the corridor.
Yeah.
This purple dotted line. That's the corridor in which they're going to dig a cable route from, which will connect all the turbines to this location here, which is where the substation is, where the power will be fed into the local grid. So and not only then are they having to form new 5-meter stone access tracks, they're also then going to dig down the side of those access tracks trenches in order to put the electric cables into to get to this point here. So there will be cables linked from all of these locations here, and they will be down the side of the access track in a trench. They get to that point of view, then a new trench then will take it all the way down to this point here where you got the substation. So you can see there's some considerable impact. So if we have a quick look into the detail of it, a little bit more detail. This is the western side. Here's your Twin Howell, which is where which they've chosen for the name of the energy park, and these are the turbine locations. The little purple rectangles here on each one are the crane pads. Again, these are going to be great big huge stone pads capable of accommodating a mobile crane, which will then lift all the turbine bits into features. So they'll lift the tower sections in first, then they'll lift the hub section in and lift the blades then up to connect to the hub. So they need a big crane there. Those crane pads will go in. They're quite big in themselves. The turbines themselves will then be mounted on great big huge circular concrete foundations, which will be sunk into the ground. And the crane pads again will be left there for at least the life of the project, because if they ever need to replace a blade, say a blade cracks or blade is damaged, or if the bearings or something like that go in the main generator, they'll need a crane to lift all the parts up to it. So those crane pads will not be taken away, certainly during the life of the wind energy park, and in all probability will never be taken away.
Yeah.
So you've created then a whole pile of hard standings, stone hard standings, probably 0.5 meter deep, rectangular in dimensions, and they will be there again, like the quarry, for all time.
Yeah, and everybody in Kilfynydd and Pontypridd will, and us up here probably, Tom Tague through to Bather almost, will all see those 3 turbines there.
Yes, I mean they're proposed to be 220 meters high to the highest point, to the blade tip height, and they're going to be out there on the ridge line, so they're going to be seen from a lot of places. One of the places that will not probably see them is the village itself, Senghenydd itself, because
Over the other side, yeah.
well, no, it's down in the dip between the two ridges either side, and the
Yeah.
sight lines will probably be such that, and the buildings and other things that will obscure views of them. So they might be the ones who don't get a view of it, but certainly there's going to be a lot of people in a big radius around who are going to get a view of these 220-meter high turbines.
Yeah, but you'd think that everybody, probably in Nelson and all the way round down to Caerphilly, would probably see it. Llanbradach and Caerphilly will all
Yeah.
see it, no, presumably. Maybe not Llanbradach. There is a mountain in between them, isn't there?
Well, as part of the planning application, that they will be doing what they call ZTVs, zone of theoretical visibility maps, which shows you where you will be able to see. Essentially, it's almost like a contour map showing you where you will be able to see the turbines and how many turbines you can see from a given location. And also, as part of the planning application, they will be putting in photo montages showing the views of the turbines from key locations that have been agreed with the planning officer. So, so when the planning application goes in, everyone should be able to get a good idea of A, whether they're going to see the turbines or not, and B, what they're going to look like from some locations.
Yeah. What are the red lines on these maps? Are they
the red line
is
is the boundary of the site. It's not the boundary of the common, it's the boundary of the site. And what that means is it's the boundary of the site owner's land. Although Senghenydd is a common,
yeah, somebody owns it.
If somebody actually owns it, and I think it's actually owned by two. It's owned in two sections by two farmers. On this page here, as I said, the purple dashed line is the cable route. Somewhere in that corridor, they will be digging the cable in the ground. There will be a trench taken all the way down to the substation at this point here to connect into it. You go on to the other side. Now we come back to this. This is now the eastern side of the common, and this is here you are. This is going to be potentially a borrow pit.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone knows the common, they're going to automatically see how large that actually is.
Yeah.
And what they will do is that they'll obviously take off all of the topsoil, and then they'll dig down and get the rock. And I don't know how far they need to go down, but they probably go down 2, 3, perhaps even 4 meters down.
Yeah. What would happen with that hole then?
The hole is just left there. It just becomes a feature. It's just like most quarries. It's just left there to. They might landscape it a little bit, but with a quarry, there's not much you can do to landscape it because it normally ends up being solid rock.
Yeah, that won't fill with water then, will it?
It could fill with water because one of the things on the common is it is. Yeah, so certainly in the winter, it's got quite damp conditions on a large part of it.
Yeah.
So potentially it is going to fill up with water.
Yeah.
This dotted line here is where they're intending to have the site compound where they store all their materials and stuff.
All right. But further down on the orange route there, it goes very, very close to a cairn.
Yes. Which one? Which side?
Just follow the orange route to the left, above the word Senghenydd Dyke.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, those ones there. Yes, no, that's one of my main concerns because those three cairns there, burial cairns, are part, according to Wilson Blackett, they are part of the Zodiac.
Right.
Right. Now, last week, I was out there with Steve Hole, and we were taking drone footage of these cairns here, because they're not big burial mounds. They're like sort of described them before. They're basically like saucers. They're only about half a meter high and probably about 8 meters in diameter, and they're just round like like penny. If you laid a penny on top of a tabletop, yeah, that's the kind of feature they are, and it's basically consisting of stones. And yes, those three there are of tremendous concern to me because of the proximity to where they are, which is again why I can't understand why they aren't coming in on this track here, which is already there, which is already in existence, and which is already stoned. Why create a new one? And you can see what's going to happen. They've created this triangle there. These tracks will be left in because if they ever have to replace any parts on the turbines over the next 30 years, so they won't be removed. And when they take, when they finish construction, you've got this nice little triangle here for people to drive around, and people are going to take shortcuts from one track to the other, aren't they?
They will, yeah.
Doing that, they're going to go straight across those cairns.
Yeah. Are they scheduled?
No, those are actually scheduled. Yes.
Right.
So during construction, one would hope at least that the planners will insist that they're fenced off.
Yeah.
But again, knowing how these projects work once they get going, because the main thrust is always to get it done. The weather conditions are normally always atrocious, and you've got a whole pile of people working on site with different kinds of machinery, and all of them are just focused on one thing: getting the project done as fast as they can so they can get home tonight.
Yeah.
And I can see that these three cairns in particular are going to be subject, a great concern to me. There's great potential for them to be damaged, but there's also a cairn in here, in this wooded area down here, which I can't see marked on there, but there is one in there, which again also features as part of the zodiac.
Right.
So there's quite. That's what I mean. That's why I think it's really important that people look at this. Take copies, or go to the Two in Your House website, get a copy of the plan, and go out there. And if you've got any interest in any aspect or feature on the common, go out to it and look at it and compare the plans and see whether it's going to be impacted or not. And if it is going to be impacted, shout loud and hard.
Yeah.
And then we go down here again. So you see, this is the byway. This is the old Roman road that they're going down.
Yeah.
And then you can see they're having to cross the dike, because you've got the dike to the left of that track. They're going to have to cross it in two locations, and they're going to also have to cross it there. Wow. Those crossing points again are a very concern to me, because when they cross it, what they're going to do? All they're going to do is just fill in the ditch. In one sense, that's okay, because if they fill in the ditch is at least maintained. They won't dig it out for 30 years or more, but so the ditch will still be there, and future archaeologists will be able to scoop out what has been put in to fill it and dig it out. But the concern I've got is with the weight of the vehicles and things like that, they might start collapsing the sides of the dike and start altering the profile of the dike in those locations. The other thing that's about here, there are some new buildings going up. These little features here is a building, substation building for the turbines. And again, there looks to be another one there. It's important now that people get out there. And I said, what everyone needs to do is to go out there, look at it, check if it's going to impact anything that they're interested in, or anything that they think is important and should not be impacted, and start to put their objections together. Because as soon as the planning application goes in, we want a whole raft of objections if we need to object about anything going in. I'll certainly be writing in about my concerns about the three cairns, because we've also got another situation up on this section. See, you've got Cairn Edlwyd here in this in that location there. There's a cairn, and they're cairns which are not obvious on the ground. These are not obvious on the ground. So when Steve and I were there last week, we tried photographing them from ground level. and you just lose the cairn in all of the greenery in the background. You can't actually make them out. It's only when we put the drones up that you can actually get to see them. So that's the state of play.
And where did you get the maps from?
Anyone can get copies of the proposals by going to the Twin Howell website, and it's Butte Energy, and on it they have details of the planning application. They also have copies of the reports that they've done, because they've done a heritage report, they've done ecological report, and etc., which is what they're required to do in order to support their planning application. But the problem, as we've discussed before, is the heritage report. The people doing that will only be looking at what is already scheduled or registered. They'll be looking at the scheduled monuments on the site. They'll be looking at any listed buildings on the site. They'll be looking at any buildings of historic interest that are on any kind of register. But anything that's not on there, and one of the big things that's not on there is most of the stones. Now, there's a couple of stones which are scheduled and registered because they've got rock art or they've got cut marks on them. But there's a lot of stones around there which we believe form part of this zodiac. They will not be scheduled. They will not be registered. They will not be listed on any formal list. And as such, because they're not listed as being of interest, they're fair game. You know, if they get bulldozed out the way, no one's going to moan about it. And I think that's one of the big things with the common, because one of the other presentations I got for us to go through is how the common has already been being trashed. And it's only going to be trashed to a greater degree when all of this building activity goes on there, because you are going to have some really big vehicles going back and forth across that site, probably in very wet conditions. And as such, it's going to create havoc.
So the public have access to those roads afterwards?
No. As I said, all of the new access tracks they're making, every single one of them will be left in place, and will be left in place for at least 30 years, so that they can get big vehicles up there if they have to do any maintenance work, big major maintenance works to the turbines, like swap out a turbine or swap out a generator. But once they're open, the whole of the common is open access land. So they can't stop you using them. And that is one of the things that I can assure you in planning application, that will be one of the benefits, is we are creating these new hard service track for cyclists and
cyclists and off-road motorcycles will use to get to another place they can try.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that's one of the potential problems it's going to rise to, because they will have all these nice new stone tracks suitable for big vehicles, but the off-road vehicles and off-road cyclists and motorcyclists will think, great, but technically they won't be able to use them because they aren't the bridleways. There's 3 bridleways that go across the common at the moment, and off-road vehicles and off-road motorcyclists can use them. But technically they will not be able to use these new tracks because they still form part of the common, and they are not public rights of way.
Right, we got to enforce that, though, haven't you?
But at the end of the day, I would personally much rather the off-road people use the new tracks rather than just
common itself,
the common like they're doing now.
No, they'll only use the new tracks to get to another place that they can go off-road. The whole point of it is off-road, isn't it?
But as I said, what the big problem for me and the big concern is that where you got an existing byway and a new stone track in that triangle where you got the three. I can just see people going from one track to another. Instead of going to the end and turning around and going back that way, they'll just cut across. And when they cut across, they're going to go straight across these stone cairns. Anyway, I thought this was important to get out.
It's important, and we'll get it out as a news item Sunday.
It's a news item which needs to go out. It's a bit late news because they come out with these new plans, I think sometime around about September, October. But I know that, you know, this development is one of these things that Ross was taking a very keen interest to, because of the potential damage that's going to happen to the common and to the pieces in the the Zodiac jigsaw. You know, if we lose a major part of it, we might not know today that stone was crucial to what we're doing, and we're already looking around for the Polaris stone, because Ross never believed it was where Wilson and Blackett thought it to be.
Yeah, the one on
So
the
we
farm.
were looking around on the common for a Polaris stone. We haven't found it yet. And who knows, we might never find it now, because it might be removed as part of this development.
Yeah, it might even be in that pile the farmer got
Yes,
together.
yeah, that is the worry. Yeah, and once that, you know, that's a key part of the jigsaw. Without that, the rest of the jigsaw, we can't build it around it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for highlighting this, Bob.
Okay. As I said, I'm just continuing the work that Ross started on it. So
yeah. I'll just stop that recording now.